Hey everyone, it's Andrew with Percolating Brews. I'm going to be talking with Erika, the Director of Coffee at Variety Coffee Roasters today in Brooklyn. And we're going to be talking about coffee competitions, sourcing green coffee, and perfecting your taste palate. I'm here at Variety Coffee Roasters in Brooklyn with Erika Vonie. She is the Director of Coffee.
Yeah,
here.
Director of Coffee.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us.
Sure, of course.
Can you give us a little background and what was your aha moment for coffee?
Oh, okay. So I started working in coffee to help pay my way through college. I went to school for film and photography, so I should have known that I was going to have a career in coffee afterwards. Yeah. After college, I moved to the city of Philadelphia and worked a few different places and managed, but one of my former bosses, his name's Aaron Ultimo, and he runs Ultimo Coffee in Philadelphia, saw a lot of potential in me, and he suggested that I do barista competitions. And so under his tutelage, I actually competed for a couple years. In my second year, I placed as the 11th best barista in the nation.
Wow.
So that was my aha moment of like, oh wow, not only am I good at this, I can really go forward and move on with it.
Yeah.
Once that door opened, it was kind of like, cool, let's just see every single avenue that coffee has to offer.
So you actually went pretty far with it before really realizing that it was something that you really wanted to continue pursuing.
For a long time, it was mostly just an easy and enjoyable way to make money while I was pursuing a career in visual arts. Just circumstances and freelancing is tough, and Philadelphia didn't have the market that I wanted. I took a couple years to realize that I was putting a lot more passion and time and energy into developing my coffee career than continuing to be a photographer. So it was easy when I decided to dive headfirst in. It was like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's already here. This is it. This is it. This is for me.
So what is it? So how many times have you done competitions since
this
then?
Last year. So all right, I've competed for 5 years now, and this last year's cycle ended in April, and it was my 4th time going to nationals. I didn't do as well this time as previous times, but that's fine. Just other people did better than me, which was great. And so there are other competitions like latte art throwdowns, and then there's this competition called Coffee Masters that happens at the New York Coffee Festival that I did last year, and I'm gonna apply to do again this year.
Oh, wonderful! I love that festival. It's so great.
It's really fun.
Because it's here in the city.
Because it's so you can go to it.
I don't have to travel. Cool. Cool. And Variety has a booth at the festival too. Cool.
Yeah, we always have booths, and we always have arcade games. So this year we're gonna have a slot machine.
Oh,
secret
slot machine.
You have to come in
legal gambling.
Legal gambling for 25 cents. You could win a T-shirt or a box of coffee or something like that. So.
Oh, great! I'm looking forward to playing already.
Yeah, you should. Fun. It's fun.
What kind of preparation goes into competing and
competing?
I mean, obviously thousands of hours, like everything else.
So many hours, yeah.
What? Yeah.
So the format, maybe it'll help explain all of the prep I have to do. So you have 15 minutes to present 3 courses, all espresso based. An espresso course, a cappuccino course, and then a signature beverage course. And you have 4 judges in front of you. So you make 12 drinks total, and you're mic'd, and you have to have a playlist, and you have to speak to your judges. And you're judged based off of sensory skill, like how accurately you describe the coffee that you're using, all the information you can offer about the coffee and why that's important to how it tastes the way that it does. And you're also judged on overall presentation, professionalism, and your technical skill. How efficiently you can clean up after yourself and use the equipment. The way that I start preparing for competition is finding a coffee that I am not going to get sick of.
Yeah.
It's really important because you have to taste the coffee inside and out. And I usually, for the first week, I actually don't make a whole lot of espresso with it. I'll make a lot of drip coffees so I can figure out where it tastes best doing what. And then from there, I kind of roll backwards and I get my espresso recipe, and then I decide on what milk to use. I'm a big fan of using 2% milk in competition.
Oh, interesting.
Because a lower fat content helps the coffee presence shine a lot more. So and it also gives like, it's not like a full fat, so the texture is a little bit smoother. I don't know, that's my personal preference.
Sure.
And then from there, to develop the signature beverage, the best ways to do it are really figure out what the most complementary flavors in the coffee are. And coffee is always going to be your bitter ingredient in a sig bev. Their signature beverage gets shortened to sig bev, sorry.
Got it.
So, but if you think of like any cocktail, you have, everything is in balance. So you'll have some like acidity or like brightness, and some sweetness, and some bitterness. And the coffee is always going to be the bitter component. Just it always is.
Right.
So then you have to figure out what sweet thing, what acidic thing, what like savory thing, if you want to go in that direction, can help complement all of that. And then you create a drink out of that from there.
All right. So before we started filming, you were talking about just doing a training with some people here, and about how you're kind of honing in on those sensory skills.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you give a quick overview again of like what that process is, how you can go around experimenting and like learning your palate? And
one of the so the training that I just did today earlier, I'll tell everyone so you can do it at home. Make concentrations of salt water, sugar water, and sour water. You can use like a lemon, for instance, something that's really acidic, or if you have access to citric acid, you can use that. That's what I use. And then take those concentrations and then add them to cups of water in increasing intensity. So like one will have, you know, maybe only a millimeter worth of the sweet concentration, and the second one will have 2, and then the next one will have 3. And then you kind of taste them against each other, and you'll taste all the sweets, and you'll figure out which has the most sweetness and which has the least, and how that then affects like your perception of salt and sour, because then you can start combining different intensities and concentrations of each type to then see like, well, if something is like really intensely sour and it's paired with something really intensely sweet, maybe that makes the saltiness come out a little bit more.
Okay.
Or conversely, maybe if something is really sour and it's paired with something salty, that sourness might overpower the salty, or the salty might overpower the sour. It helps you, one, figure out how best to taste intensities of things, and two, if you have any sensitivities to anything. Like I have a sensitivity to like, citric and malic acid, and so when that's in a drink or like in a food, my mouth is like, oh my god, it's here. Be aware, it's right here. So
yeah, it makes that pop. So and then when you add milk to it for those kind of latte-based drinks, that kind of helps you guide, you know, how much and the quantities are really,
quantities, and you can also see milk has a bunch of sugar in it as well. So if you have maybe like a savory coffee, this is just like any sweet and sour or like salty and sweet sort of thing. The saltiness in coffee is perceived as umami, which is a legitimate flavor. It is legitimate. It has been discovered. It's on the books. But salt and sugar in coffee taste so good together. So if you have a really savory coffee and you use a sweet milk with it, it usually tastes amazing.
Definitely. So do you, I assume you must also pay attention to the origin countries of those coffees, and do you have a preference of now? Maybe your taste changed year over year, but
kind of like everybody else, I am a big fan of washed Ethiopian coffees. I mean, I think that's like the crown jewel, but I have a huge soft spot in my heart for Papua New Guinean coffees. They are wild, and they're weird, and they're savory, and they taste like, some of them taste like tomatoes, and some of them taste like graham crackers. The more research I've done into the growing process and the way that coffee is treated in Papua New Guinea is just fascinating to me. So anytime I see a P&G up, I'm like, trying it. I'm definitely trying that one. Keep eyes out for that. They're weird, but they're good.
So how do you prefer to have your coffee?
I'm boring.
Depending on the day, drip?
Just a black drip coffee.
Through like a preferred method? Or like
I'm a big fan of the Chemex. I'm just like, I feel it's so funny because it's not basic, but I feel like so basic being like, I like a washed Ethiopian in a Chemex.
Well, you know, I always say like, if that's what you like, then that's what you like.
Exactly. And there's no one can take that away from me. It's what I like. But I think, honestly, one of my favorite coffees that I've ever had was a single origin Kenyan espresso that just tasted like strawberry juice. Like there was something about it was way earlier on in my coffee career, so I wasn't like ingesting every single piece of information about it I could. But what I do remember is it was a pretty long shot. It was like, you know, a medium dose, probably like 20 grams in the basket, and then maybe like a 40 gram output, so like a 1-to-2 ratio, like really big shot.
Yeah.
And my boss made it for me, and he handed it to me because he knew I was gonna like it. And he was like waiting,
Okay.
and it was just mind-blowing. Like earlier when you were talking about aha moments, I've had thousands of those, but like that was one of them. That was like the sweetest, tastiest shot of espresso I've ever had. Very memorable. And so when you get something like that, you always just like chase it. You just try to find it again.
Right, right. And so I guess that's the idea, right, of what specialty coffee is now, and what people are trying to find in different shops and cafes, roasteries, of that ideal coffee. So for variety, what does that mean, like in terms of how variety is getting their coffee and sourcing it? What's on the books currently?
So what's on the books currently? Right now it's a lot of Guatemalans and a lot of Ethiopians. Right. This is the season for harvesting. Well, harvesting has already passed. This is the season that it's arriving. Yeah. So it takes about like 2 to 3 months after harvest for all the coffees to land in the States. So right now we've got this amazing Ethiopian coffee called Banco Michicha working triple time for us. It's our cold brew, it's our house espresso, and it's a drip coffee. Okay. So that's amazing. Cool. We've got a Guji from Ethiopia. Oh, we also are rounding out a Burundi and Uganda. Those,
I love Burundi.
Yeah, those were on the menu for a couple months, and so they're going to be leaving to be replaced with a couple Guatemalans. Okay. So I'm the one that does the green buying. So I curate the green menu. And Variety's ethos is single origin roasted for brew method. So we don't blend anything. Not because we don't like it, just because we enjoy the challenge of making roast profiles for specific brew methods. And it's really fun and exciting to like get samples from people, because I have a great relationship with like 5 or 6 different importing companies, and they know exactly, at this point they know what I want. They know I want like a 88 to like a 94 point scoring coffee. We'll pay extra to get that quality in. I actually had an importer like last week email me and be like, I think you would want this for your cold brew. And she wasn't wrong. So yeah, like it's on the books. It's good to have something so set and your mission statement like so obvious that your business partners, the people that you work with, like try to give you the things that you want. Yeah, that's great. That you have that strong partnership there. Oh yeah. And so do you hear that feedback too from customers, regulars? Do they notice? Or honestly, I really only hear feedback if it's negative. Okay. Which at first like really worried me. Yeah. But I've now just gotten to the point where if I don't hear anything from anyone, that's a good thing. That's good. Yes. Yeah. And there was, you know, I've taken a couple missteps. I got this one Colombian in that I thought would make a great cold brew over the winter, and it just didn't. Okay. You know? Well, that's, yeah, I mean, that's part of learning. It is. Yeah. Yeah, I've only been green buying for like 6 months at this point. It's been not very long at all. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, but I only have like one egregious misstep in my first 6 months. I feel pretty good about that. I think that's a good, good win to loss ratio too. Yeah, so it's definitely. Fine. For the roastery part here, the roaster is at this location. Yep. So what we roast on is a machine by the company called Loring, and it's the model is called the Falcon, and it's a 15-kilo roaster with a stainless steel drum. And what that gives us is a really clean, also like energy efficient, because it uses gas, not open flame. So it gives us a really clean cup of coffee, and sweetness is always our MO. Yeah. Like we always want a sweet coffee. Okay. So we found that the Loring really helps with that. But then there are other shops that have, or other roasters that use a machine called a Probot, which has it's a flame roaster with a cast iron drum. And that will obviously give you a flavor, because cast iron takes on the flavors of everything that's been inside. So that's cool too. That's like a completely different profile. Yeah. So importers don't really give us roasting specs, but they'll give us their tasting notes and their body notes. Okay. So I'm something called a Q grader. And so that information is really important to me, because if the importer grades it at like an 88 and I'm grading it at like a 90, we can kind of see where in the roast those points are either made up or lost. Got it. Yeah. Got it. Really interesting. Yeah, it's
Cool.
this stuff. This is a rabbit hole.
Yes,
like
really
you're on the
really
edge of the black hole, and you can just forever. Seriously.
Cool. So maybe we'll try and pull it up a little bit so we don't go too far in the weeds. But
yeah.
I also want to point out the cool branding of the boxes of the coffee at Variety here. Is there a story behind this 70s like retro?
Yeah, so it's supposed to sort of be subliminally reminiscent of a Budweiser can.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys see that, but all of our aesthetics are very like boardwalk.
And this cold brew here.
Cold brew, yeah, right here. Woo! Like boardwalk style, like 50s, retro, 70s kind of stuff. My boss really likes Bruce Springsteen and the Rolling Stones, so anything that gives him that kind of Americana, I know the Rolling Stones are British, but like, you know, like Americana rock and roll retro vibe we go for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you have on the boxes notes of the coffee itself, what it is, what you suggest that could be used for.
So we have, like on top, we have all of the information like roast date, which is really important, but then origin info for all of the coffees, down to the producer, and if we bought like a single producer lot, we'll like put their name there, down to like elevation process, how it's dried, the mouthfeel, the way it feels in your mouth when you taste it, the aroma and tasting notes. And then on the back, we have all of our recipes. And then if you get the cold brew beans, there's a little insert on the inside. This is just the espresso, so it doesn't have it, but a little insert that gives you the recipe to how to make it at home.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So
nice. So educational.
So educational.
But also open to your interpretation.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, coffee is something that most people drink every day, and so we love it when people come in and let us make coffee for them. But if they want to do it at home, we want to make sure that, you know, that they can make a cafe level quality cup in their own house.
Totally. What's something that you would like to see more of in the New York City scene of coffee culture? I mean, like, how are things changing?
I think I'd like to see more slow style service in New York.
More pour over.
Yeah, more pour over, or more of just like a shifting of the idea of taking a coffee break.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, a majority of business that we do and at different cafes as well is the early morning commuter, and they're in and out, and you don't really get to have lingering customer service experience. You don't get to, I mean, it still happens. You still have special moments with your customers all day long, but I'd really like to see New Yorkers realize that you can take 15 minutes to sit down and have a cup of coffee rather than just like take it and dash.
Definitely.
Because I think, I mean, there's a lot of good coffee in New York. I moved here 3 years ago, and there's exponentially more, and just more coffee and better coffee everywhere. And I feel so bad for some of these companies that just like their turnover and volume shops, and I'm sure their customers really appreciate it. I know our customers appreciate a good cup, but I'd like to see people slow down a little bit.
That's hard, nice. In the city, it's the hustle.
The hustle is real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So real. But yeah, pour-overs are tough in New York for that reason. But yeah, I think it's worth it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's something that I loved and helped me find my aha moment in coffee, actually, when in Italy. Just experiencing that cafe culture and how they, you know, that siesta time that they take. So this is, you know, the United States in general, not just like New York.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, if we were able to take that time and just take care of ourselves and you know, throughout the day, it would be
so much better.
Yeah, it'd be so much better.
A lot better in a number of different reasons, but yeah.
For sure.
Speaking to the customer experience, Variety prides themselves on like having a great customer relationship, and like that's part of your mission statement. I think,
definitely.
Right?
So, are there ways like that leadership within Variety cultivates that enthusiasm for within the baristas and like creating that culture inside and, you know, across all of the different cafes that you have? Is there something that you guys think you feel you do special?
Yeah, I think I have like a two-part answer to that. Variety for a long time kind of had this reputation of being like where seasoned baristas go to retire. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but by the time that I came on, we had an incredibly knowledgeable and incredibly talented staff that could like do this job with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
But I think that lent itself to, over the last couple years, we've really like reinvented ourselves in the way of customer service, of caring more, of like, you know, going to coffee fests and like putting ourselves out there in the specialty market. My competing also helped with that as well. But I think we can still stay in this like third wave, upper level specialty coffee scene. And the reason why our customers are so good is because we do it without pretension.
Yeah.
Like we've been doing it for so long that we wouldn't dare say no to people, you know, like, oh, can I get an iced cappuccino? We don't say no. We say yes, I'm gonna make you this thing that you want. And like, it might not be the thing that you're envisioning. We don't put steam foamed on top of cold drinks, but it's like, yeah, you want that? I'm gonna make that for you, and it's gonna be dope.
Good.
So I think that's a big part of our customer service is zero pretension. We know we're good. We don't have to tell you we're good. We just show you we're good. So there's that, and then our hiring is outstanding. We don't hire jerks. Everyone on staff, our entire staff is incredible. And so it's really easy to have good customer service when you're having fun with your friends.
People.
Yeah, it's just so, like, we hire people with experience, and if they don't have experience, we make sure that they're excited to learn something new. And then we all just help each other out and have a great time, listen to great music, make good coffee, and just like enjoy yourself behind the bar.
Definitely.
So the more that we enjoy ourselves, I can see it with the customers, the more that they enjoy their experience as well.
It rubs off.
Yeah, totally. Again, because we try to do it with as little pretension as possible.
That's so important. I think
really important.
That's great. So last two questions for you. What do you see coming up as after the third wave? If there is, will there be a fourth wave? Where are we going? Where should we be going?
Where should we be going?
This is very hypothetical.
Oh man, everyone has a different answer for this.
Yeah.
I think the third wave kind of got extended into like two parts, like third wave A and third wave B. And third wave B kind of focusing on like new gizmos and gadgets and stuff. I think fourth wave, and what I would like to see fourth wave be, is an outreach of this high-end specialty market lifestyle sort of thing to people who wouldn't have access to it in general, and to see a diversification, so not only of the customer base, but of the baristas themselves. Because we see a lot of college-educated, college-educated people leaving college and not really knowing what to do. Like I said earlier, like, you know, I went to school for this one thing and I'm not doing that right now. And specialty coffee can offer outlets to just keep learning and get better at a skill that's more, it's like equal parts science and art. So what I would like to see is, like a third wave specialty lab in like Brownsville. You know, like in the heart of a community that like doesn't necessarily have access to that. But yeah, like definite diversification, greater outreach and access, and also educating the public. I think that's an ongoing thing that fourth wave hopefully does as well. You'd be surprised at how many people still don't know that coffee is the seed of a tropical cherry. People don't know that coffee is a fruit. And I would like everyone who drinks coffee, especially New Yorkers, at least know some basic tenets like the countries that it grows in, and like the fact that it's a seed, and maybe know the difference between like washed and natural. Because I don't think educating the masses is that far off. So I would like to see that for fourth wave. Some intersectionality, some diversity, inclusivity, like bringing it all together, giving this opportunity to make a living. I make a living being a coffee person, which a lot of people don't understand.
That's awesome.
I've made more money than plenty of people I've dated who have like office jobs.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yes.
So it's a career path, and I would like to see that extended to people who don't necessarily look like me. Or have come from the privilege that I have come from.
Looking forward to seeing what comes next, and I hope that that does happen, and that the education is there. And I think people are also more open to it now, and hearing the information about the coffee. I mean, you have it on your branding and your packaging.
It's right here.
And
it's all right here.
Yeah, it's all there. The information is there. You just have to go out and get it. The final question would be, if you weren't in coffee, what would you be?
What would I be doing?
What's your next passion?
I would probably be making documentaries.
Documentaries.
Yeah. I think that it sort of leads into why I like coffee so much.
Yeah.
There's so many stories. There's stories everywhere. You have a story. I have a story. Coffee has a story. I love the human interaction in general. Like the idea of the fact that in one box of coffee, this like 300-gram box of coffee, the amount of people that have had to do work to make this happen is outstanding. You know, easily 50 pairs of hands like just touch this coffee alone, from the person that picked it, to the person that processed it, to the person that drove it to a co-op, to the person operating a shipping like freighter across the ocean, to whoever designed our packaging, to the UPS guy that drops it off. You know, like they're in this thing right here, there are dozens of stories. So I think that's why I like coffee so much, and I think that's where my passion is. So if I wasn't making coffee, I'd be telling stories about stories.
Awesome. Well, I mean, stories have been the cornerstone of like humans since the beginning of time.
Since forever,
Forever, yeah. So I think it's totally appropriate, and yeah, it would be fun, and look forward to seeing these documentaries later on.
Thanks.
Cool. So thank you for telling me your story and speaking about it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for asking me to hear it.
Yeah, of course. What are the locations that we?
Okay, so right now we are at the Roastery, which is in Bushwick off the DeKalb L stop. It's 146 Wyckoff Avenue. We have our flagship store is in Williamsburg off of the Graham L stop at 368 Graham Avenue. We have a little teeny tiny hole in the wall in Greenpoint off of McGolrick Park at 145 Driggs. And then our only Manhattan location for now is in like Midtown Chelsea area at West 25th and 7th, right on the corner across from a Whole Foods.
Awesome.
So come see us.
Very good. Thanks.